My friends and I went trick-or-treating one Halloween night. There were 4 of us. Michael, Trey, James and I wanted to get some candy, and knowing that our parents would let us go by ourselves, we had until 9:30 to go back home. We lived near the suburbs, so you had to go house to house pretty quickly. Anyways, we went from door to door getting candy, and I mostly like getting chocolates like Kit Kats, Snickers, Milky Ways, Reese's, you name it. As the night progressed, our buckets were getting pretty filled. We had to start using bags, and even then those were getting pretty filled as well. It was around 8:30, and you can barely see the sun now. There were still a few kids getting candy, so my friend Trey went over to this one house that was more on the secluded side of town. He knocked and waited while we did the same. This old, grouchy man came out and said, "What do you want?" He sounded pretty aggressive. Trey simply said, "Trick or treat." The old man just stared at him. Trey repeated, "Trick or treat." The old man then said, "I don't have any candy." He then slammed the door on us as hard as he could. We walked away and started laughing and saying stuff like, "Man, that guy is weird as hell," or "What an asshole." But as soon as we walked across town, this minivan seemed to be following us. I noticed right away and told everyone that I think the van belongs to the old guy from earlier. They all agreed and we picked up our pace. The van sped up as well. But I knew we just kept walking. That man would know where we lived, so I told everyone to book it and head to the woods. As we ran to the woods, you could literally hear tires screeching down the road. He was definitely following us. Michael and I ran to the left, and Trey and James to the right. Since it was pretty dark, I think the man lost us. But as we all gathered up at the edge of the trees, we could see a van waiting near the street. He was just parked. We decided to wait and have him leave, but he wouldn't. And it was already 10 p.m., well over the time our parents had to be home. We were sitting ducks, and I wasn't about to confront him. What if he had a weapon? So I told Trey to hurry up and call his big brother to come pick us up. He explained the story to him. Like 5 minutes passed. You can hear Trey's brother honking his horn down the street. I think it worked because the van hurried up and sped down the road. We all got out and thanked Trey's brother. He took us all home. Like the following day, us 4 tried to see if that van was parked where that creepy man was. Come to find out, there was nobody living inside. I guess the man was on drugs or something, and he just went inside the house. I'm just glad nothing else happened that night. I've never felt horror like this in my entire life. I had just came back from taking my little brother trick-or-treating. His name is Ricky and he's 8 years old. And of course, he asked if he can eat all his candy. He went to his room upstairs and I stayed in the living room. It was just me and my brother at the time, so the house was pretty lonely. I think I was using my phone and I could hear footsteps above me. Knowing that my brother's room is above that living room, it wasn't bothersome. I continued to use my phone, and I could hear the doorbell ring. I looked at the time, and I noticed it was 10:45. I was thinking that was pretty late for kids to be trick-or-treating still. So I got up and went over to the door. I checked the little peephole, but I didn't see anybody. So I ignored them and went back to the couch. But as soon as I did, The doorbell rang again. By this time, I knew some kid was pranking me, so instead of checking the peephole, I opened the door instead. There was no one, except for an empty pumpkin basket for candy. It was a little funny, so I put some candy and jokingly said, "Trick or treat!" I then yelled out and said, "Come get your candy." I closed the door and waited at the peephole. While I did that, I noticed something approaching my doorstep. It was someone dressed as the Grim Reaper. Their face was covered in black as well, so I couldn't see. The Reaper then picked up the bucket and went straight to the peephole. It felt like it was staring back at me. Then it whispered to me,
"I know you're hiding, but your brother isn't."
I literally thought, what the fuck? That's when I noticed and I hurried up and ran upstairs. My brother was hiding in the closet, but he pointed out that the window was open and that someone tried to get in. I said, what was he wearing? He said he was wearing all in black, so I assumed it was the Grim Reaper costume. I closed the window, then checked the whole house. I then went back to go check the peephole, and the bucket was still there. So I slowly went to go grab it, and my heart sank. It had a letter saying my little brother's name. I had no other choice but to call the police. It took them a good 10 minutes, and I explained what happened. They checked the whole house, but they didn't find anything. All they said was to keep the doors locked and call back if we suspected of anything. I wonder if there was someone I knew, or if someone was actually trying to hurt Ricky. But about a week passed after that incident, and I found a note at my front doorstep, and it said trick or treat. Luckily, nothing else has happened, and I hope it stays that way. Halloween is my favorite holiday of the year, and I always try to have fun. Except that's what I thought this one October night. I was about 13 years old at the time, with a couple of friends. And my neighborhood is a pretty lit area where you can see kids trick-or-treating all around. I wasn't really afraid of anything, but only a certain costume would get me just looking at it. That was a Michael Myers costume. Something about seeing it in person gave me the creeps. So as I walked with my friends to get candy, we spotted one. This person was just standing, looking at everyone. You know, basic scary stuff. My friends and I agreed to avoid the guy and go around it. As we passed it, the man would just stare at us in our direction. And with its lifeless face, it gave me the goosebumps. As we went house to house, I was coming down from the front stairs, and I noticed it again. The Michael Myers guy. Except he was just down maybe 3 houses. We ignored it and kept walking. And I would look back once in a while and expected the man to be gone, but no. He was still right there, right behind us. I was kind of freaked out by now, and was kind of panicking. My friends as well. We each ran down to see if the man would do the same, but instead he kept walking straight towards us, but with heavy steps. That's when I knew we were in trouble. I ran over to a house with this fence and climbed right over. My friends right behind me. When I say this man literally came up to the fence and started to climb over as well. And we started to scream for our lives. Every single one of us now ran back to the house and down the opposite side of the block. Of course, there was no one around at this point, so we couldn't call for help. But then the Michael Myers guy stood behind and we just watched him stand there, which felt like forever. Then he did something I didn't expect. He full-on sprinted towards us, and we ran as hard as we could. I found this one bush, and it was pretty big, so I ran and hid under it. My friends did the same nearby. Since it was turning dark, it was a great cover. The man then ran and stopped in the middle of the street. He looked all around to spot us, but he couldn't. But this was the weird part. The man made a weird ticking noise. The kind of noise you do when you call your cat. I was so scared for my life, I couldn't bear it. The man turned away from us, and one of my friends went straight towards the trick-or-treaters. We did the same. I didn't dare look back as we did this because of the fear that the man would catch up to us. We reached the area of the trick-or-treaters and yelled, "Help us!" I couldn't run anymore and felt like throwing up. It was a miracle though, because someone giving out candy came up to us and said if there was a problem. I explained the man in a Michael Myers costume was chasing us. The person acknowledged this and reported it to the police. But as we were leaving, I could tell he was still there. He was hiding behind the house, just watching us. I went home early that night, and my friends were pretty spooked. I mean, what was a bunch of 13-year-olds going to do to a full-grown man? All I know, I am forever scarred of that Michael Myers costume.